One of my main goals for 2025 is to read a book every single week and to finish up the pile of books which I already have. Now I failed because the first two books which I read took me about 2 weeks each and they were new. So let's see what I read in January. Oh, it went inside. Huh? Is this a look? Can you hear me? So the first book that I read, which let me tell you was the most perfect way to start the year because I cannot think of any other book which I would have liked to read to restart this reading journey. So the book is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I did not forget the name of the book. I just forgot if it had my in the beginning. So if it was My Days at the Morisaki Bookshop or just Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, it's just Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. This entire book felt like I was in a wood cabin in front of a fireplace, um, in like the fuzziest clothes I could find, drinking some hot cocoa, and it was just like the warmest hug back into reading. The story is actually pretty simple. Of course, there are various subplots. The characters are provided so much depth, but at the same time, it's a very easy read. Honestly, I don't know why it took me 2 weeks to finish. I feel like I did not want this book to end. I just wanted to keep reading it, and that's the main reason why it took me 2 weeks. So basically, we have Takako, her uncle Satoru, and his wife Momoko. And well, these three I would not say are the main characters of the story. Neither would I say that they are like sub characters. Three of them are the pillars of the entire book. Like we have a main focus on Satoru in the first half of the book, and in the second half we have our main focus on Momoko. And the bridge between them is Takako. This is like the first Japanese fiction which I'm reading. I have read Ikigai before, so that's a Japanese book which I read before, but it's not fiction as we all know. If you're a book lover, not exactly a book reader, but if you're a book lover, this book is going to be such a perfect treat for you because imagine like living above a bookshop and you have got piles and piles of books in your room. Like that's my ultimate goal in life. When I first started reading this book, I did not know what to expect and I was very pleasantly surprised. So this was like a solid 8.9 out of 10. I feel like I can read this book 1,000 more times and it's pretty short as well. It's about 150 pages. Took me 2 weeks. One thing I really liked about this particular maybe copy of the book is its sleeves. So I don't know, I've never owned a book with this kind of sleeves before, but I loved using it as a bookmark, which I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but I did that and it was fun. Now you would think that if it took me 2 weeks to finish 150 pages, I would have sat down and thought maybe I should pick up a smaller book. No, I went and picked up this 500 pages book. It's The Handmaid's Tale. I could sit down and talk for hours about The Handmaid's Tale because I've already watched the series. Back when I was watching the series, I did not know that it was adapted from a book. Otherwise, I would have stopped myself, but I just could not stop. Like, the series is amazing, and as I'm reading the book, I feel like the series did such great justice to the book. When I first started reading it, I was so annoyed because the author uses very complex sentences, which is ironic because when I'm writing, I use very complex sentences. For like the first 10 to 20 pages, I had to read things over and over and over again. So, The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian novel, and if I'm not wrong, it was written in the 1980s, which completely blew my mind. Basically, the entire concept of The Handmaid's Tale is that there was a particular religious group within America who overthrew the government of America, and their main goal was basically to take America back to its traditional values of family, of women being oppressed, because right after they took over, women were forbidden to read. They were confined within their homes. They were not allowed to work. Handmaid is like kind of a surrogate, but it's not her choice. She's not given a choice. She is actually given a choice, either become a handmaid or die. So anybody would choose the latter. Everything went backwards. So all the progress we have made so far, it was undone within a few months maybe, and people did not realize what was happening at first because nobody ever feels like those things are possible. While reading this entire book, I had this feeling of I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not possible, but at the same time, if it did happen, I would not be surprised. So women slowly started losing their rights. They slowly lost their right to own any property, to even have bank accounts. Everything was transferred to either their spouses or the state. The story is basically narrated by a protagonist whose name was actually not disclosed in this book, but since I watched the series, I know her name. You know what I feel like if I talk about The Handmaid's Tale, I'm just not going to stop. I'm going to tell you the entire story, and I don't want to tell you the entire story. Another fun fact is that this book is banned in America, like in public libraries and schools. It's banned there. This book was no doubt a 10 on 10 for me. I cannot wait to read the second book. I don't know why I just got the first one. Since I have done watching the drama first and then reading the book, I kind of want to finish the second book before the drama comes out. I think the final season of the drama is going to come out this year itself, or maybe next year. I'm not sure. But I cannot wait to read the next book. I cannot wait to see how it ends. But I have a feeling that it's not going to end on a definite note. Like it's going to end on one of those, the reader is free to decide what happens at the end. One thing which I really loved about this book, and I cannot comprehend how it was done, but it's that the author does not only tell you what's happening around the main character or the other characters, but she tells you the protagonist's innermost thoughts, like the way she thinks. It's almost like a flowchart is playing out. I don't know how she was able to transcend into the protagonist's body and soul and write this piece of fiction. It makes no sense. It feels like she had to be there. This story had to be real, but it's not, thankfully, yet. So the third and the last book which I read, which is actually from the pile of books which I already have, is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I've tried to read this book many times before, but I could not get past maybe the 10th page, and I always wondered like what's happening? Why can't I read it further? And I feel like it's like my inner deduction that I feel very strongly empathetic towards someone helpless, and it's to the point where I have to completely shut down my brain to stop feeling that way. And as I was reading this book, I seriously had to block away, like I had to turn off that empathetic part of my brain. Otherwise, I would not have been able to read this book. It's such a heartbreaking book. So in the first few pages, you are told about Franz Kafka and how he depicts his personal experiences, personal feelings in most of his works, and that just breaks your heart even more because this man must have felt something so strong, so bad that he went ahead and wrote this heartbreaking book. I have no other words to describe this book other than heartbreaking. Imagine you don't know what's happening to you and your family just wants to get rid of you. I mean, of course, it's understandable from their point of view as well, the amount of problems they had to face because of the young man's sudden transformation. But at the same time, for the person, I forgot what his name was. Oh, did his name even Gregor, right? I'm so bad with names when it comes to characters, except talk to me about Mr. Darcy. I honestly felt so bad for Gregor throughout. I had to like make myself sit down and just finish the book somehow. I mean, I was not even able to, I would say, enjoy it because it was so heartbreaking to read, and towards the end I just burst into tears. I don't know what to make out of this book just yet. I feel like I need to process what I have read because I finished reading it just yesterday. I don't know how to end this video. This is like the first time I have sat and done a sit down and talk video in how long? 2 years? More than 2 years. I don't even remember at this point. It's so weird talking to the camera, and also I got this new mic and it goes in and covers the viewfinder, so I cannot even see myself. Is it still on? Yeah, it's still on. It's going to turn itself off. It's been 30 minutes of me just babbling. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you next month. In the meantime, tell me what you read and if you have read anything which I have read and how you like them. I'll see you next time.